Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another tier list. So, today we are looking at every weapon from the first Ratchet and Clank game. So, the first Ratchet and Clank game I played almost a year ago and reviewed almost a year ago. So if you haven't already, go check out that review. But I want to put the weapons in these tiers here. So we got our weapons here, and we also have our tiers down here. So we have the top tier, which is Quarktastic, meaning fantastic weapon, awesome weapon, and really useful, really great. We have A tier, which is maybe not the top tier, but still really fantastic. B tier is kind of middle ground, not great, not horrible, but good or okay. C tier is like almost bottom of the barrel, near the bottom of the barrel. One or two things keeping it from the bottom, and then finally it's back in the toolbox. We're not going to be using it because it sucks. Now the only weapon I excluded is the Rhino, only because I actually didn't unlock the Rhino when I played Ratchet and Clank. And the thing about the Rhino is you're not supposed to, without like exploits in the game, you're not supposed to be able to unlock it through your first playthrough. And I try not to use exploits. I kind of just play the game vanilla. But yeah, so I didn't capture the Rhino. But the Rhino, of course, is probably one of the most useful weapons in the game. Wasn't able to unlock it. But so we're not gonna rank it there because I don't think it would be fair. But that's just me. But the rest of these weapons I've unlocked and I've played with it obviously and everything. And ranking these weapons, a couple things we're going to take into account. First, how the weapon looks, but the weapon, how it looks will kind of be minimal because what we're mainly concerned about is how the weapon functions. Is it useful? Is it viable? Is it strong? And how far can you really get with it throughout the game. So without further ado, let's get right into it, starting with the Omni Wrench. Now, the Omni Wrench is your melee weapon. It's kind of cool that even with a game where it's a whole bunch of weapons and you're supposed to use a lot of the weapons, and it's like projectile based weapons, they still gave you a melee weapon to use just in case you run out of ammo or something like that. You can still use the melee weapon. And the Omni Wrench is okay. The only thing it is like stronger enemies, it'll take a lot more hits, but you're able to do the hyper strike, you're able to throw the wrench, so it does have some good functionality to it. And now this was before the later games where you get wrench upgrades, and so you're stuck with just that Omni Wrench, but I still think it's okay. So the Omni Wrench, for what it's worth, is gonna go in B. So still pretty decent weapon. Next up is the Bomb Glove. Now, the Bomb Glove is one of the two weapons that you start off with in the game, and the Bomb Glove, you're able to launch the bomb to the enemies and everything and take them out. It's okay for the early game, not quite that viable in the late game. And by the time you get to the late game, you'll have much stronger weapons. But to start off with the bomb glove is still okay, and even sometimes in the late game, it can still be still somewhat useful if you run out of ammo for the stronger weapons. So the bomb glove is going to go in B as well. The bomb glove will go in B. He's still pretty decent, and the fact that you don't actually have to pay for it because you start off with it. But next up is the Pyrocitor, her flamethrower weapon, and right off the bat, this looks really cool with like the the back part that you hold in that, and the where the flame comes out, and then the attachment down there. Looks very cool, and you're able to shoot. But the only thing is there is a chance you do have to be in kind of a straight line, but you can kind of twirl around as well with the weapon and to get more mileage out of it. But otherwise, Pyrocitor I think is also okay for a starting out weapon. It's also okay. So the Pyrocitor I think is gonna go in B. Next up is the blaster. Or, one of the first weapons that you can buy. I think it's actually available as early as like the first planet, in either the first planet Novalis or Kerwan. On I know it's very early on in the game, but the blaster very useful, being able to take out the enemy. And it does have a decent amount of range to it, which is also nice. Plus, it looks really cool. So, the blaster, I think I'll actually put in A. And it's actually not bad when you get into the late game. So the blaster he's still pretty useful weapon in the late game. And so it's gonna go in A. Next up is the Glove of Doom. Now, the Glove of Doom, I feel like a lot of people hate the Glove of Doom. Has a weapon they think is kind of, or I believe it might be called either the Glove of Doom or the Ages of Doom, but you can go back and forth. But a lot of people don't really like it. Me, I think it's okay. It's definitely not really viable in the later game. Once you get to the later areas, but for starting off, it's okay, I guess. But yeah, once you get to the late game, it's not quite as viable. That and the fact that after the little robots that come out of the glove attack the enemy, they blow up. So they're essentially done for after that. And especially in the later game, some enemies will need to take like 2 or 3, so you'll go through the ammo. So the Glove of Doom, I'm actually gonna put in C. I can understand why people don't like it, but I think I don't think it's horrible, just not the best. But next up is the Suck Cannon. The Suck Cannon, stop giggling. The Suck Cannon is actually pretty cool. Well, it's a cool concept, being able to suck up smaller enemies and then shoot them back out. And the fact that it doesn't really have an ammo count like the other ones. The ammo is essentially the small enemies that you're able to suck up. The only thing though is that you can't suck up more enemies after you already sucked in some enemies. You have to shoot them out before you can suck up other enemies. That kind of sucks, but otherwise, as a concept, it's pretty cool, and it's nice and big and nice and hefty. So the Suck Cannon, I think I'm actually gonna put it in A. Yeah, I think I'll actually put the Suck Cannon in A. It's actually pretty cool. Next up, though, is the Taunter. Admittedly, I never really found much use for the Taunter. The only thing is the thing about the Taunter, it's mainly used to like lure enemies to you, but usually I find myself seeking out the enemies even more, and oftentimes the enemies will come right to you anyway. So the Taunter, sadly, I never really got much use out of. So the Taunter I will put in C. And remember, these are all my opinions, so if you disagree with any of these, that is completely fine. But next up is the Devastator. I love the Devastator. It is such a cool weapon and rocket weapon, and it's pretty useful. In the later game, it'll take a couple hits. But otherwise, I think the Devastator is really cool. So the Devastator, I think I'll actually put in A. I really like the Devastator. It's a really cool weapon, and so I'm gonna put in A there. Next up is the Walloper. The Walloper, interesting in theory. He having kind of another melee weapon, so therefore it also doesn't have ammo consumption. And but the only thing is you do have to be somewhat close to enemy. You can lunge forward with the Walloper, but so oftentimes it is non-viable, especially with a lot of enemies. But with the Walloper, what it is, I think, is okay. It deals about 3 times the damage of the range, but there is but you do slow down a little bit while using it. So the Walloper, I think, I'll be generous. I'll put it in B. So the Walloper is gonna go in B. Next up is the Visibomb gun, and I really like the Visibomb gun. The only thing about the Bizbomb gun is that you kind of have to stand there while you're launching the rocket. Which the gimmick with the Bizbomb gun is that you can launch the rocket and then guide it towards the enemy you're shooting at. But the thing is enemies can and often will attack you while you're standing there. Or so, if an enemy attacks you, you essentially waste the ammo, and you no longer have the rocket going. You got launch a whole new one. But for what it's worth, I still think it's okay. So it's gonna go in A. So the Visibomb gun, I think, is gonna go. Excuse me, in A. Next up is going to be, let's see here, the decoy glove. Never really found much use for the decoy glove. Like, the thing is, and this weapon actually has a gold version, if you can believe it. You can send out the decoy, and the enemies will attack it instead of attacking you, and it will explode and dealing some damage, but otherwise it's not really viable. And it's almost kind of useless. Like, it'd be one thing if the decoy could like shock the enemies if they touched it, and would last for a little bit, but that's sadly not the case. So the decoy glove, sadly, I'm gonna have to put in back in the toolbox. I'm not gonna have much use for this weapon. But next up is going to be the drone device. The drone device I also didn't use that much often, and especially because as it kind of comes late in the game, you have to unlock it pretty late in the game, and the drone device. The thing about the drone device is it creates like a kind of force field around you, if that makes sense, and then it seeks out the enemies to take them out. Okay, in theory, but I don't know if it works that well. Like, a better version of this would be like the synthezoids from Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, which I review. So if you haven't already, go check out that review. But otherwise, the drone device, I think, is like okay. So I will put in C. So the drone device is gonna go in C. It would be a way to get like some absorb a hit or two without actually getting a hit or two. But sometimes the enemies can attack you anyway. If a certain amount of drones have been taken out already, which does kind of suck. But next up is going to be the Tesla Claw. The thing is, I want to like the Tesla Claw, and it is a pretty useful weapon in the game, and with like the shock and everything. But the only downside is it is a really expensive gun, and the fact that you gotta shell out those bolts as you pretty much need it to take out to complete the level. I forget, and I cannot think of the level right now. Is not coming to my mind. But the thing is, the Tesla Claw is useful on that front, but it's so expensive, so that really brings it down. So the Tesla Claw, I think I'll still put it in B. It's still useful, but the cost is what kind of ruins it a little bit. And then last but not least is the Morpho Ray. The Morpho Ray, kind of more of like a joke weapon where we're able to turn the enemies into chickens, but I still think it's okay. It's just kind of a little joke weapon, and it works on smaller enemies. So if you want to turn enemies into chickens, and here you go. And kind of like the spiritual predecessor to like the Sheepinator or in later games, but the Morpho Ray I will put in B. It at least has some use, but it's more of a joke weapon. So I think that's gonna do it for the rankings. Not as many weapons that I remember there being in the game, but nevertheless, Quarktastic this time around is empty. I imagine the Rhino would probably go in Quarktastic, but again, I'm not going to rank the Rhino because I didn't actually unlock the Rhino, so I think that'd be a little unfair. Nevertheless, in A's here we have the Blaster, the Suck Cannon, the Devastator, and the Visibomb Gun. In B's here we have the Omni Wrench, the Bomb Glove, the Pyrocitor, the Walloper, the Tesla Claw, and the Morpho Ray. In C tier we have the Glove of Doom, the Taunter, and the Drone Device. And sadly, the Decoy Glove has got to go back in the toolbox. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this video and this ranking. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you can see it as soon as it drops. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the rankings. Do you agree or disagree with these rankings? And what is your favorite weapon from the Ratchet and Clank from the first Ratchet and Clank game? And I will also do one for Going Commando later on down the line. And if I decide to do the whole series, I'm going to do one for the other games in the series. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Peace.